The following episode of The Kingdom of Isolation contains footage from the film being discussed. The footage is used solely for the purposes of education, commentary, and criticism under fair use. Please support the animators by watching this film on Disney Plus or home media where available. This episode also contains spoilers throughout.
Hello, my fellow Pixar fans, and welcome to the Kingdom of Isolation, where in times of trouble, why not celebrate the magic of Pixar? And today, we're continuing the pandemic era of the Pixar with Luca, which released on Disney Plus in 2021 before getting a theatrical release elsewhere in 2024. Pandemic film number 2 now, and this, I feel, should have been released in theaters as the peak of the pandemic was past. But the next film we're going to be looking at absolutely should have had a full theatrical release and not just shoved onto Disney Plus. But I don't work for Pixar, I don't work for Disney, so I don't know a thing apparently. Nevertheless, time to head to the Italian Riviera. And I'll just get this out of the way. There's no John Ratzenberger in this film.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Oh well, no Pixar bingo card this time around. One of Enrico Casarosa's biggest influences when making the film was acclaimed Italian filmmaker Federico Fellini. Enrico's also making his full-length directorial debut here with this film. In particular, there are several nods in this film to Fellini's film La Strada. There's a poster for it that can be seen in the main plaza, the main piazza, on the same stretch of wall as the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea poster. And the fishing boat at the start of the movie is called Gelsomina, which is the name of La Strada's protagonist. Production designer Daniela Strijleva teased that the animated film, in true Pixar style, is filled with Easter eggs galore. And I am just going to say this right now. Going forward, I'm not going to have all the Pixar Easter eggs that are in this film. Otherwise, I'd be here forever and a day. So I kind of toned down on the Pixar Easter eggs at this point. But I will reference a couple of the Easter eggs that tease the upcoming film. I'm still going to do that. And I've just realized I've not found A11. Hang on a second. I've just realized I couldn't find A113 or the Pizza Planet truck. So where on earth are they in the film? I'll worry about that at the end. Sharp-eyed audiences should look for teasers of Turning Red, which was Pixar's next film, and the next episode. Viewers should also note that the streets names pay homage to filmmakers and authors, and the film pays homage to Italian culture. We had a lot of fun in the graphic design, says Daniela. In the earliest version of the film, Ciccio was going to be another sea monster who was friends with Luca and Alberto. This changed early in development when the filmmakers realized they wanted more focus on the relationship between the other two boys, Luca and Alberto. The film's also celebrating Pixar's 35th anniversary, as Pixar was founded in 1986 by the late Steve Jobs. All the more reason this should have been on the big screen when it came out. In its opening weekend, when it premiered on Disney Plus, this was the most watched piece of content on the platform. And while racking up over 10.6 billion minutes of viewing, this became the most streamed film of 2021 in the United States. The film was originally set to be released theatrically on June 18, 2021. However, on March 23rd, yikes, that was the 1-year anniversary of when the UK went into lockdown, and I've just realised that. Yikes. Disney announced the cancellation of the film's theatrical release, and that the movie would instead stream worldwide on Disney Plus in response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. We get some, I think, 1940s Italian music that wouldn't sound out of place in Fallout. Fallout set in Italy. My word, you could have Fallout set everywhere at this point.
Tommaso, do we really need to fish near the island?
Hey, you worry too much.
I don't know. What if the old stories are true?
And 2 fishermen on a boat. It just so happens that we do end up with a sea monster taking things off the boat. Curious start of the film, which I'm still trying to piece together. 2 fishermen go fishing, unseen sea monster. Yes, that's how I've written it in the script, roll with it. Unseen sea monster takes things from the boat, gets caught in the net, and jumps over the boat back into the water after breaking free from the net. That work? Moving on.
Ah! Fish out of the boat!
That's our titular character Luca, voiced by Jacob Tremblay. When asked if there's a message that he wanted people to take away from watching this film, what would it be? Jacob simply stated, the biggest message in this movie would be just don't be afraid to try new things. Hey, that's me when I started CrossFit in 2018 and karate in 2022! Haha! This is Jacob's first time working on an animated film as well. And because Enrico stated that working with him was such a pleasure, and I love how earnest and innocent he is naturally, and he's playful, and he's not afraid to try stuff, so it was so much fun to improvise with him. He's actually one of the few actors we had time to work with before the pandemic, so it was so much fun. Jacob revealed that his favourite scenes filmed were the action sequences. Those were fun to do because you had to do the effects of breathing and panting, so that was a lot of fun. I think I got so carried away. I get lighthearted at times. Light-headed at times. Lighthearted.
Mona Lisa, why are you smiling? Anyone else in there?
A fish shepherd. Makes sense. I like the touch as well that the opening credits are in Italian. For the animation style, Enrico wanted to go with a more cartoonish, somewhat exaggerated look that took inspiration from both the Looney Tunes and Hayao Miyazaki's films such as Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro. There's a Looney Tunes inspired moment when Luca's thrown off his bike after braking suddenly, and the halo of fish swimming above his head is a suitably aquatic take on the circling little Tweety birdies effects often seen in characters, or sometimes stars, which Roger Rabbit had a lot of trouble trying to get. In an interview by the director Enrico, indicated that the plot that of a shy, reserved kid who befriends a nonconformist type who pushes him into becoming more open is directly based upon his experiences as a child. He said he also said to have spent as a kid summers in Cinque Terre, which is where the movie is set. When asked why Luca was chosen as the film title, Casarosa said that he based the film on his friendship with his childhood friend Alberto, but he couldn't just use his own name Enrico and chose Luca because it's simple and is pronounced well in America too. So, good job on accessibility, I would say. While the concept of a sea creature who grows curious about life on land and transforms into a human has a lot in common with Disney's The Little Mermaid, fans of Studio Ghibli's films are more likely to associate Luca with Hayao Miyazaki's film Ponyo, Fishy in the Sea. Hey, look at that! Back-to-back episodes referencing our favorite Fishy in the Sea! Casarosa said that Miyazaki was another one of his main influences, since the Ghibli co-founder is known for his films about children exploring magical worlds. The name Porto Rosso is a deliberate nod to Porco Rosso. Luca's family lives in a modest underwater home where they farm kelp and herd goatfish. Goatfish, herd goats. That makes sense. I see what you did there. That's very clever. Well played. According to cinematographer David Bianchi, filmmakers wanted to make this underwater world appealing, but not too appealing. So basically the same issue as Finding Nemo then. Noted! This is where we meet Luca and learn pretty quickly how much he thinks about life beyond the surface, says Bianchi. How do we make that location something that our protagonist would want to leave? The music here is beautiful as well, composed by Dan Roma, who was nominated for an Emmy for Station 11. He's also best known for working on The Good Doctor, which I really should get back into at some point. Superman and Lois. I need to get through the Arrowverse as well. The movie adaptation of Dear Evan Hansen, which I've mentioned a couple of times on this show previously, and a video game credit with Far Cry 5. So, very interesting range. I knew the music sounded familiar from watching The Good Doctor. I knew it sounded familiar. Luca starts finding things on the ground, like from the...
Land monsters! Everybody under the rock!
Luca's parents then call him for lunch, making sure he's safe after the boat he saw. We're introduced to the rest of his family, who have show crabs. First show horses, then show cows from Forbidden Film number 1, and now we have show crabs. Whatever next? Lorenzo is voiced by Jim Gaffigan, who's voiced Van Helsing in Hotel Transylvania, portrayed Smee in Peter Pan and Wendy, one of the many live-action remakes I'll have to go through, when the Disney Toon Studios films, the direct-to-video sequels so included in this, are finished. Maya Rudolph is the voice of Daniela. Maya was last seen as Aunt Cass in Big Hero 6. But la la la! She's also the voice of Jean in the Inside Out series Dream Productions, which I would highly recommend. Maybe I should start going through the series at some point as day pass episodes. Anyway, Daniela stands her ground and Luca is not allowed anywhere near the surface. Enrico stated that he drew inspiration from the films Hayao Miyazaki when creating the film. I've already mentioned Porco Rosso, Castle of Cagliostro. In the final version of the film, the character's surname was changed and the name of the town was changed to Porto Rosso. Luca finds more human artifacts in the water.
That belongs in a museum!
And I'll get to you eventually. Yes, I know Indiana Jones. I know the Indiana Jones films are done by Paramount, but Disney did The Dial of Destiny. So I will cover the Indiana Jones films since Disney owned LucasArts eventually.
Boo!
Huh?
It's fine. I'm not human.
Jeez, don't scare us like that! Jeez. That's Alberto, voiced by Jack Dylan Grazer, in his animated film debut. Jack has also voiced Barney in Ron Goes Wrong, a Fox animated film I should get round to at some point. Portrayed a young Eddie in It Chapter 2, and has been Freddie Freeman in Alberto collects his things and brings Luca to the surface, giving us the first time we fully see the transformation from sea monster to human.
No! Help me!
First time?
Of course it is!
A huge win with this scene for me is the beautiful music, the sound design, being on the beach, and of course, the beautiful animation. Jack performed his vocal tracks inside of his house due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The only room that provided the acoustics needed was his mother's closet. Jacob stated that the relationship between Luca and Alberto is going to bring back a lot of memories when people watch this, and I'm hoping when people watch this, they'll be able to forget about COVID. It's so cool that I get to be part of someone else's childhood. I think especially now the story is really special because for me, I haven't really been able to see my friends because of COVID. Of course, and this movie is all about friendship. So when people see it in theaters, I hope they'll be able to remember hanging out with friends during summer vacation and just having a blast. I love that. I like that. I really, really love that. The ability to transform from sea monster to human not only opens the door for Luca's life-changing adventure, it serves as a subtle explanation. It's an adaptation, like camouflage. According to Enrico, it explains why sea monsters haven't been noticed in this world for centuries. According to character supervisor Beth Albright, the transformation had to be both physical and at times emotional. Enrico really wanted the transformation to be something that's happening to the character rather than a suit that slides on and off of them. She says it had to be internal, something that the character would react to, but nothing that felt creepy at the same time. We opted for a transformation that would ripple through the body. Enrico decided early on in the production that the film should feel as if it were from Luca's point of view. To that end, the Italian seaside setting conjures an immediate sense of wonder, completing the magical transformation feeling of the main character's escapism. Casarosa envisioned is the carefree idea of summertime. A truly nostalgic era and a stunning painterly style. The artist's hand is something I think about a lot, says Casarosa. We try to bring some warmth and imperfection to the computer animation, and our story takes you to a place that's fantastic, but also inspired by where I grew up. According to color and shading art director Chia-Han Jennifer Chang, the palette of the setting was influenced by the era, but enhanced to reflect the unique point of view. We wanted to capture the idea that it's a child's memory of that summer. I guess you can see why it makes sense why they had this come out during the summer. So everything is way more vibrant, bigger, and more saturated in reality. Once Alberto is able to coax Luca out of the water and demonstrate that he's not only safe, but able to see a whole new world. Top right of your screens if you want to watch the Aladdin episode, by the way. Oh, I had to get that in at some point. The sun, the sky, birds. He shows off his hideout, a reclaimed old Roman tower that was long ago abandoned. It's falling apart, according to set supervisor Chris Bernardi. The stairs are broken, so Alberto built a ladder up to the one floor that still exists. Barely. Story lead McKenna Harris says it tells two stories. It hints at what might be a troubling backstory for Alberto, but on the other hand, it's every kid's dream to have a place of their own where imagination rules. Oh, you can tell I love doing these. You can tell I love doing this. I am so glad I continued doing this. We all want to hang out there. It's charming and, at the same time, a little rough around the edges. Luca decides to go back into the water and head back home. The next day, Luca heads back to the surface after making a copy of himself to watch the fish. Alberto tries to teach Luca to walk while giving us the first trap meme. You're welcome. The round clouds in one of Luca and Alberto's dream sequences sometimes line up to create hidden Mickeys. Man, it's been a while since I've mentioned hidden Mickeys on this show. The dream sequences in question involve the Vespa. Luca helps Alberto build said Vespa, and back home he goes. The next day, Alberto rides the Vespa, which ends well. Montage time, and the boys have a lot of fun together while Luca's parents are concerned. Rightly so, especially when they find that that statue is not Luca.
What's wrong with you, stupido?
What's wrong with you, stupido?
Later, Alberto tells Luca about the Bruno in his head. Wait a minute!
We don't talk about Bruno.
Sometimes you just need to take a leap of faith. Ooh. Hello, Miles Morales! They silence Bruno. Silencio, Bruno! Make the ramp, and into the water they go. Alberto has a dream where he wants to own a real Vespa. But in order to do that, he has to win a race to make that happen. That race being the Porto Rosso Cup.
Luca, take over! Yeah, man!
The vibrant color palette does help make the animation stand out. Makes sense when you're on the Italian Riviera. Pixar never stopped delivering stunning visuals like this. Sadly, reality takes over and Luca's parents are not happy.
You're in big trouble. You need to promise us that you'll never sneak off to the surface again.
Helicopter parenting, being overprotective, and monitoring everything he does.
Good thing you sent for me when you did, huh?
Luca, this is my brother, your Uncle Hugo.
You may as well bring Sacha Baron Cohen into. I might as well bring him up as that's the voice of as the voice actor for Uncle Hugo. 3 Oscar nominations to his name. I am not even going to try to pronounce. I am not even going to try to. Actually, you know what? Screw it. I am actually going to go for it. 2 Oscar nominations for both Borat films. The first one, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan. And then the sequel, Borat's subsequent movie film. How on earth they got away with making a Borat film in 2020 is beyond me. His third nomination was for The Trial of the Chicago 7. Luca's mother is sending him to the deep until he runs away and spends the second act with Alberto. Next up, Porto Rosso! Music here is just incredible, as well as the visuals.
This will be a breeze. Just don't get wet.
Sounds easy enough. Although the town of Porto Rosso is entirely fictional, the feeling it conveys of the Italian Riviera is familiar. A nod to the Cinque Terre in Liguria, Italy. Apologies if I pronounce these wrong. Chris says the town itself really tells a story. These old stucco buildings that have been worked on and improved. There's a pescaria, a gelatoria, and a focacciaria. There's an old restaurant and a new one. The church is one on the square near the cinema. Cinematographer Kim White was fascinated with the narrow streets and alleyways. I brought home from Italy pictures of the way the light fell between the buildings, and it bounced off them. I wanted to capture the beautiful quality of the light in town and the interesting shadow compositions that I saw there. During the film, there's a reference to Turning Red, thanks to a record referencing the name of the band that will be part of the film, For Town. Each voice I've already gone through the voice actors for Luca's family, but yeah, they've all got comedy backgrounds. Maya's also been on Saturday Night Live and Bridesmaids. Jim's been on the Jim Gaffigan show. Sasha, I've already mentioned. And editor Catherine Apple says his improvising often changed a scene. Sasha's improvisation, by the way. She said he wanted to try a bunch of approaches to see which one worked, but it was hard to decide which way to go, and the scene got a little bigger once he recorded. Here's an idea. Stop casting comedians! The background voice artists who provided the voices for the kids in the film are recorded by local children in Italy. The street names in the film honor famous Italian authors and filmmakers. We have a lot of Italian homages from Italian cinema, from old wonderful movies. Marcello Mastroianni has a little cameo. We have Fellini's famous director. We have a Fellini movie with the poster La Strada. So in the signage, it's fun to see and look for and find what they all mean. We really had fun putting in interesting Italian words that are puns or Italian words that are very typical of directors we love, according to Enrico. A villager voiced by Enrico himself is playing Scopa, which is a popular card game played with an Italian deck of cards. You can see one of these designs close up on the card that Alberto tries to steal at the beginning, which Luca later finds. And the reverse of the card, with its picture of a town in the top half reflected in the lower half, is a detail referencing the underwater civilization beneath the sea right by Porto Rosso. Luca takes in the beauty of this wonderful town.
Madams, what's wrong with you, stupido?
Well, that didn't work. At least they got some ice cream out of it. And then comes the irredeemable scumbag himself, Signor Vespa, which is the name Alberto gives him.
Oh, mamma mia, please, no more really.
Now, in the UK version of this film, that priest is voiced by hilarious chef and former king of the jungle on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Gino, if my grana from the top.
What did he say?
Gino, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike de campo. My UK fans will definitely get the reference. Signor Vespa is voiced by Saverio Raimondo, and his character name is Ercole Visconti, and is immediately detestable. Just the classic town bully stereotype with his group, who are also very one-dimensional at this point. Ercole is very one-dimensional from the start.
Hey, stop looking. She's too beautiful for you.
And you, stop talking. You're too cliche to be a good antagonist. Thankfully, Emma Berman, voicing Julia, comes in to save the boys from Signora Vespa. Am I calling that going forward? But I can think of something harsher, which is also not gonna cause me to get in trouble with the YouTube police. Emma also voices Squirrel Girl in Spidey and His Amazing Friends. Tempted to watch that show at some point. I know it's a kids show for preschoolers, but come on, it's Spidey. It's Spidey. How can you not love Spidey?
Me! I win the prizes. Chicho, get your daddy's harpoon. We're gonna catch a sea monster.
And you have officially ticked off every one-dimensional antagonist cliche in the book. Congratulations, you are one-dimensional and irredeemable. At least one of your friends is voiced by Peter's son, so I'll allow it. They convince Julia, Luca and Alberto, this is just to avoid confusion, Luca and Alberto convince Julia to join the team after some interesting motivation. Join the team for what? The Porto Rosso Cup.
Bravo, Figaro, bravo, bravissimo, bravo.
La 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 la. That is a man that we like to call a scene steal. La 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 la. And we can scratch that off the Kingdom of Isolation bucket list. Della Cinta. La 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 la. Yes! Yes! Marco Baricelli is the voice of Massimo. Very macho name for Massimo. We just need El Diablo. Julia convinces him to let Luca and Alberto stay for dinner before everything starts to fall apart. Massimo lost an arm, as a side note, and we'll get into what happened with his arm later. Julia lets the boys stay after they agree to work alongside her and Massimo to get the entry fee for the race.
Meanwhile, thousands of miles away,
Luca's parents decide to head to the surface, where Daniela's human form is modelled after her voice actress Maya Rudolph. The favourite pasta dish in Marco Valdo's house is Trente al pesto. It's the flagship dish of Genoa, the city where director Casarosa comes from. Trente is a kind of flat spaghetti. Pesto is a sauce made out of basil, parmesan, pine nuts, garlic, and olive oil. Maybe I should try making that at some point. I like Julia. The cat, not so much. Time to start working, I think. You know that thing I mentioned about Massimo's arm earlier? that you immediately think, that he might have had it chomped off by a sea monster. Well, he jokingly says that, but then actually reveals that he was actually born without that arm. The boys come back with a huge catch and manage to sign up for the race. Until this scum decided to make an appearance.
Sorry, no autographs today.
Yeah, nobody wants one from you anyway. Even Luca's parents are becoming unlikable here, just to try and find him, throwing all the boys of the town in the water. Anyone else who did the same would have been thrown in jail.
Every summer I come here and everyone thinks I'm just some weird kid who doesn't belong. I think I know how you feel.
Pixar, if you had these shots in a museum, I'd never stop coming. I love the chemistry as well between Julia and Luca. Alberto takes Luca to the Vespa they're determined to win.
Luca, sea monsters can't go to school. What do you think is gonna happen when they see your fish face?
And that's why sea monsters can't go to school. Not so subtle racism in there. And then the scum arrives again.
I want to make myself very clear. This is my town, number 1. And number 2, I don't want you in it.
I said stop!
Oh, now you're an irredeemable scumbag! Time for more training and working, all while Luca's unlikable parents continue trying to find him.
I don't know, Lorenzo. Was I too hard on him?
No, of course you weren't too hard on him. Everything was entirely justified. Of course you were too hard on him! After some tension, Luca asks about heading to school with Julia.
Santo Pecorino, that's the best idea ever! Yes, of course! Piacere!
This all leads to...
See? I knew this would happen!
Monster!
Did you hear that? This way!
Luca stabbing Alberto in the back, which is heartbreaking to see. Then Luca is revealed to be a sea monster as well, after Massimo goes to look for Alberto, unaware of Alberto's sea monster form.
Goodbye, Julia.
And that hurts like hell to watch, seeing a friendship be torn apart like that. Then Alberto opens up about his dad abandoning him. Luca is still determined to win the race, and it just so happens that race is happening the very next day. It's the Porto Rosso Cup, and Luca's parents are roped in to volunteer for the race. This is not going to end well at all, is it? The team is split, and Luca and Julia go solo, which isn't recommended. The race is underway, and Julia has the lead as they make it to the pasta, maintaining the lead after she finishes the pasta. Now, Jacob managed to do that on command while recording, a very rare trait for an actor to have. And quite conveniently, the clouds roll in and it's about to start raining, which it does as Luca reaches the top of the hill. Alberto is about to reach Luca when...
Get out of my town! Sea monster! Right there!
Okay, absolutely screw you, scumbag! Absolutely screw you! Luca's had enough, saves Alberto, and sprints down the hill, while giving us a pizza platter truck in the process, to try and win the race. Julia takes down the scum, and Luca doesn't cross the line when the whole town surround them.
They are Luca and Alberto.
Massimo declares the boys the winners. Wait, how? I thought he didn't cross the line.
Technically, legally, yes, they won.
Oh, the bike crossed the line. I guess that counts. Oh, and by the way, now get out of my town, scum! The underdogs, they win the Vespa, and Luca's family are proud of him for what he did, even if they are a little bit bad. But hey, fair play to them. Julia and Luca head to school together, causing me to do that Pixar tradition of being reduced to tears. Alberto decides to move in with Massimo.
You got me off the island, Luca. I'm okay.
Yep. Definitely reduced to tears here at this point. The music here is simply incredible as Luca heads off to school on the train with Julia, with his tickets, giving us our Pixar A113. The film is dedicated to Alberto Surace, who Alberto in the film was based on, Enrico's best friend. Patty and Buchholz Wilret, who passed away the year before Luca's released in 2020, and all the friends who pulled us out of the water and helped us find our way. I love those dedications in the credits. I also love that the film was dreamed up at Pixar and produced in our slippers around the Bay Area. I love that. What an amazing film, even if I have a couple of things to be brutally honest about. Time for the scores, I think. The story, I'm giving a 9 here on this occasion. You can definitely see the influence of Little Mermaid and Studio Ghibli throughout, and it's a fresh take on some of those elements as well. So that's why the story gets a 9 for me. The characters, I'm giving a 7. Harsh, I know, but that's mainly down to the helicopter parenting and the scumbag antagonist. Aside from that, Massimo is just a big, warm teddy bear, being so caring towards the boys. Visuals, go on, let's give them another 11. Pixar have been so consistent with their animation in their recent episodes for me. Same with the soundtrack, that also gets an 11 as well. The music captures being in the Italian Riviera beautifully, and then moments like the end are just incredible. Legacy, didn't really have to think too much about this one. It's getting a 7, unfortunately. Now, according to IMDb, which is actually more reliable than AI Overview, Google, the budget was actually $120 million, which is actually one of the cheaper films that they did, given the fact that they got a lot of the cast that weren't really big names, shall we say. Luca made just over $50 million at the box office. The Pizzeria Bella Notte is a new dining area that came to Disney Paris not too long after Luca was released, with Luca and Alberto appearing as meetable characters. Adds to the list of places to go. When it was released in theaters in 2024, it was accompanied by the short For the Birds, which was on the VHS of Monsters, Inc. And honestly, this short is just really, really funny. When it was 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, with the consensus reading slight but suffused with infectious joy, and the beguiling Luca proves Pixar can play it safe while still charming audiences of all ages. Yeah. Despite playing it safe, no major wins on this occasion for Pixar, aside from an Oscar nomination, Golden Globe nomination, BAFTA nomination, and Kids' Choice Awards nomination as well for Best Animated Film and Favorite Animated Film, respectively, losing out to Encanto, with the latter making a sweep in those categories at those particular ceremonies. 8 Annie nominations as well, 0 wins, and it lost out on Best Animated Film to The Mitchells vs. the Machines. And now you see why animation fans prefer the Annies over the Oscars, because the Annies actually know what they're doing. Whereas with Disney and with the Academy, just give it to Disney and Pixar. Overall, I've said this before, that I feel it should have had a full theatrical release and not put on Disney Plus. I mean, come on, it was the summer. The kids needed something after the hell they went through over the last year and a half. So the Legacy gets a 7, and the score overall a 94%. So yeah, the big question now is, where do we put it on the scoreboard? Well, 94%, it actually ties it with Onward. Ties it with Onward just ahead of Finding Dory. However, not close enough to make the top 10 yet, which is still with Up and Wall-E. So, yeah, only 5 Pixar films left. Oh, well, actually, only 4 Pixar films left to cover now. I say 5 because Elio's coming out next year, and we'll worry about that when it comes out on Disney+. So, the animation and soundtrack saved the film from going any lower in the scores. But while it is a great film, but it does have its flaws with the characters especially. Again, should have had a full theatrical release and not put straight to Disney+. But that's just me. If you've not seen it for a while, definitely give it a watch. And if you've seen it before, give it another watch. For me. But yeah, this film, I would this one I can definitely recommend. Something that's gonna be fun for the kids and one that's guaranteed to get the tears flowing for the adults. Guilty as charged. That is it for this episode of Kingdom of Isolation. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the thumbs up. And if you want to be part of the Kingdom of Isolation yourself, you can hit the subscribe button down at the bottom. Click the bell, turn on notifications so you don't miss when an episode goes live on this channel. Next up is going to be the last of the pandemic films, and it's going to be Turning Red. And I had a blast with this. I actually did a spoiler-free review of this film when it came out. But we're going to go into full detail with this film in the next episode. But until then, I'll see you guys next time in the Kingdom of Isolation.